Drop it.
So today we have conversation number 1. This is Mark. I met Mark at EY, which is a Big 4 accounting firm, and here we're going to let Mark explain how he got to EY and all the different steps that he took to get to where he's at today.
So yes, I am Mark, and I am an accountant. So when I did undergrad, I actually was not thinking about accounting or anything along that line. Like, I did not want to have an office job. I wanted to be a writer, still do in a way. But yeah, so basically my idea was like I would go to college in like New York, like it's so exciting there, and I would become inspired to write something really good. Maybe learn a little bit, like while I was in school, how to become a good writer. And then maybe not even need to graduate because I would write something, it's like a bestseller. I was thinking very idealistically. And I don't regret that, but it resulted in, I guess, an undergraduate experience where I really enjoyed it. I did learn a lot, but I didn't come out with like a practical application.
Practical application, you mean job?
Yes, I could not find a job. That was really hard. And it was like not long after the Great Recession, or whatever they call it, where there were like still not too many jobs to find. I didn't have, even though I had an undergraduate degree, it wasn't very technical, so I didn't have any experience or like technical knowledge to get a job. But at this time I was looking into accounting because I did take one accounting class when I was at the King's College, which was my undergraduate school, and so I tried to apply to like basic accounting, get jobs, entry level or like administrative assistant or something like that. And the best I could find was like short-term jobs. So like I literally worked at this one company for a day. I worked at another company for like 3 months.
A day?
Yeah. Well, I mean, not like I got fired or anything. It's just I needed to edit their 10K, like their financial statement. But more from like formatting,
for just
grammar.
1 day?
Yeah.
Wow, that's pretty intense.
It was intense. And so that was kind of going on like during the year after I graduated. But also it was just a hard year because, you know, I couldn't find like a steady job. I had just moved to California, so I didn't have any friends here. I was living with my parents. There was this like relationship thing that didn't work out. And so I was just kind of like at this really low point. But I was like still trying to find something useful, worthwhile to do. And I was gonna go back to school, or more like take accounting classes, like evening classes, and get my CPA. But then my mom at the time, she suggested that I apply for a master's. And I didn't think I could get in, but I applied. And I applied to USC because they had this like summer intensive program before the master's program that's specifically geared towards people who didn't take accounting in their undergraduate degree. So I applied for that and for the master's, and thankfully I got in. And so ever since then, like I feel like my life has taken this like this big turning point basically.
Yeah.
Finally like made friends, finally found something that you know I could do, that I enjoyed, that would lead me towards like a career and everything like that.
Did you enjoy the, I guess, 1 year in the summer?
Yes.
You did?
Yeah, the summer especially, because it was like we only had to focus on the classes, and there was this like core group of like 70 people that we like see each other every day, we learn it like together every day, and nothing else to worry about. Really enjoyed that. The rest of the year I also enjoyed, but it was more stressful because then we would have like multiple classes, like a bunch of group projects. Oh, those are hard. And on top of that there was recruiting, which helped to get me a job in the end, but it was just like a lot to do all at the same time. And how the recruiting program looked at USC was basically a bunch of accounting firms came over, and we would have like meet and greets, and we would get to know the recruiters, get to know the managers or the partners who are there, and then we apply, and then we get in for interviews.
Did you feel that being at USC helped you in that process? Like if you went to any other accounting school, would that make a difference?
Yes, I believe very much so. Well, first of all, just practically, like I couldn't even apply to other schools because they didn't have summer intensive programs, so I wouldn't even qualify for the master's until a year later.
So that saved you a year.
Basically. Oh, well, at that point, I probably wouldn't even go for master's. I would just try to take accounting classes and get my CPA. But on top of that, I think USC has like a really strong, well, just educational program in general, but also like network and recruiting program to where, you know, like they took you to the next step where they get you connected to all those firms. I'm sure other schools do that too, just maybe not on the same level, or don't have those like same relationships with the firms that USC does. So it definitely helps to have that network, those connections, and that's what I got by going to USC.
So what did the recruiting process look like?
Let's see. So as soon as the master's program started, like in the fall, probably September or something like that. They had, I think it was like a recruiter's breakfast or something like that. Yeah, or they call it Meet the Firms.
Oh, that sounds very different.
I forget exactly how it went, but there's definitely like a Meet the Firms thing where they rent out like a big hall area on USC campus. There's like snacks and stuff like that, and then at different parts of the room there are different companies or firms that are represented, like all the big four, which would be Ernst & Young, Deloitte, PwC, and KPMG. Like they all had their own place, and then some of the mid-tier accounting firms were there too. And basically our responsibility or our task was like to go and to meet all of these recruiters and say, hi, I'm Mark. Maybe to give them, I think we had our resumes to give out or just contact information and then follow up with them. So you make these connections and then apply, but it's not just like a cold application where you like find something online and apply, because those are just like super hard. Follow up into like an actual offer or an interview when you make that personal connection.
So in your, like, let's say cover letter, did you actually mention those connections that you made?
Yes, yeah. So the cover letter didn't come until like farther down in the application process, because first it's like you talk to them and then forget the step-by-step process, but eventually there was a part where like you apply online, you submit your resume and your cover letter, and the cover letter goes directly to the recruiter that you have been talking to. So you kind of address them personally.
Yeah.
And say like some aspect of the connection you made, whether it's something of like your own skills that you talked about or something about the firm, like you can mention those things in the cover letter to make it stand out, basically.
Back to the application process. So you mentioned that it's like a pretty extensive process. So how long did it take? Like a couple months or?
I believe it took a few months. Yeah. Because the first part of the process, from meeting the firms to submitting your application, I would say that was probably around a few weeks, and then you have to wait a few more weeks in order to find out if you get accepted. Then it's like you enter the first phase, so to speak, where like you get your first round interview and you prepare for that, and then once you have that interview, then
so that's a first round interview.
Yeah, first round. And then like that's where you have to wait again to see if you get accepted to the next round of interviews. And once you get accepted to that next round, that's when you like really start making connections at the firm, and you go to all these like different events.
Is that the in-house interview?
Yeah, eventually the in-house interview. But before then, there are like a bunch of just like recruiting events to where even with the first round interviews, like you just continue to make connections, continue to get to know people. And some people have like later application processes, so even if you don't get a first round right away with everyone you want, like you continue to make connections, because all of these firms, they continue to come to like recruiting events, and you just get to know people. But then you try to build those relationships, especially with the ones you already made connections with, the ones you have first and second round interviews.
So how did you find out whether or not you made it? Was it via email or?
Email.
Yeah. What if you really want to go to this firm but you never heard back? Would you email the recruiter to see? Or is that bad?
First of all, you shouldn't really care. If they haven't responded to you in a while, like chances are they probably are not going to take you at that point. And sometimes they will never tell you. So you won't know until just the time runs out and you move on. So in that case, like after a while where you think you maybe won't get it, like definitely follow up, because if you follow up, you show initiative if they are still interested. Even if they don't want you, like you have nothing to lose, because it's not like they're going to blacklist you for saying, oh, this person's too eager.
Yeah.
You know, like that's definitely not a fault, especially in this line of business. So do that as much as possible. Even if they're not interested, like you have nothing to lose.
Okay, yeah, that's a tangent, but back to the overall like recruiting application process. So can you tell us a little bit about what happens during those interviews? So like what happens during first round, what happens during in-house, which is second round, which is like where you interview at the firm. What questions do they ask? Do they make you take like tests and stuff?
Tests? I think that happened one time when I was applying for a consulting firm. Which I thought I did a good job on that one, but didn't hear back. But that was basically like there was a case study that was given, and you have to answer according to what you think like the best solution would be, and you have to have like a very well-developed answer. And they give you like, I think a day to prepare once they give you the case study or something like that. But other than that, the interviews are pretty much standard, where you just come in. First round, you really interview with 2 people, which would be like the recruiter and the manager, I believe.
Mm-hmm.
And there they ask you questions like, tell me about yourself, and tell me about like a time where we're given a difficult situation and you like overcame that. Tell me about a time when you worked with a team, or like you had some difficult team member, or you had a challenge, and like all of these things to like.
Did you prepare for them? Like, did you kind of know those questions? Like, you know they're gonna ask these questions, or like how did you get ready?
I mean, I try to prepare. I try to like, I had a bunch of like questions in mind that they might ask, and had answers in mind. But mostly like, and I think this is what they taught us, is like, rather than to have answers to questions, you have stories in mind. So like you think about what is my experience, what have I done in my life that's relevant to this, like in school, in previous jobs or extracurricular activities, places where I worked with a team. And you just like have those in mind and like be able to share them in any kind of situation. So like, especially if you did something like that's very noteworthy, they might not ask specifically about that. They have to find a way to like insert that into the conversation. So like they ask you a specific question, you try to like see, oh, like I have this story, how can I insert this story into this, like into my answer for this question?
So like,
so I try
star?
to
Is that how you were taught? Star.
What does star mean?
I think it's like situation, task, action, and result. So the STAR method of telling your story.
Okay.
Yeah, that's how I was taught.
Yeah, I would recommend that.
Yeah.
Definitely. I think that's what we learned also. I just don't remember all the acronyms.
Oh yeah.
But yeah, generally like that. But then they throw in like some twist questions sometimes. Or like just questions that just you might not have a good answer to. And I remember I had like a terrible interview with, I think it was PwC.
Oh.
Yeah. Where, I mean, like, the interviewers were like friendly and everything, but they just asked me a couple questions that I just didn't have good answers for, and I like try to find a good answer, but it was like super awkward. It was more about like my personal life rather than like my professional life.
Oh.
Yeah, but like not in a good way.
What did they ask? Do you remember?
It was like, I think it was, tell me about a time when you asked somebody for advice and how did you respond to that?
How do you respond to that?
Which is like, I mean, if you like normally go to people for advice, that's good, but I usually don't. And so I ended up like talking about this one time when like I asked, I think my dad for relationship advice or something like that. And it was just like super awkward and I didn't want to be there anymore.
Is that something that you should probably, like, would you recommend people to avoid, just going to like personal relationship answers, stories?
I think so. I would recommend that. Unless it's like somehow like really applicable. I don't know how that would be. I mean, like, I'm sure there are ways, like there's no like one answer for everything. Yeah. But in this case, probably better I didn't share about that, at least because I didn't have anything like worth sharing. It's just like the first thing that came to my mind. But I honestly like did not have any other answer for that. So
that is a tricky question.
Yeah. So the best thing I could have done is like, I just don't have a good answer for this maybe. Because I couldn't think. That's how you go. Yeah, but I'm not good at that though.
Yeah, actually, don't make up things because people can tell. Like experienced interviewers can tell.
And this guy seemed fairly experienced. It's kind of intimidating, but anyway, no, but that's not on him. That's more like on me because I think at the end of the day, I just like wasn't that prepared. Like I try to be prepared. I just could have been more prepared, I suppose. Like think about every question they could ask, or just I don't know. Yeah, just it's not easy sometimes because you never know what they'll ask. Sometimes, especially like when you're still in school, there just isn't much experience to share. So I guess one thing is just like go out there and get experience before interviews, like especially like group projects or group activities where you're faced with like dealing with a team and all of these things, because they love asking those kinds of questions.
Oh yeah, definitely prepare for that one.
Yeah.
And so that was the first round. How about the second round? Was that any different?
Second round was, I don't remember any issues. I think it was much easier because I would think it should have been maybe more pressure because I only had one second round offer with Ernst & Young. Yeah. So if I didn't get that, then like I would have to like restart the whole like recruiting process with somebody else. But I heard that like once you get into the second round, then, like unless you mess up, like you pretty much got the offer, got the job. So I guess I wasn't super nervous, but also I was already making connections with people at Ernst & Young at this point, so I felt a little bit more comfortable with them, like this is where I want to be, that sort of thing. And before the interviews even started, they took us into the office and Like we got to introduce ourselves, got to know all of the other candidates, and so they just made us comfortable at that point. And
were you assigned an interview buddy?
I think I was. You?
Are you still connected to your interview buddy?
No, I am not. I don't remember. I think they were really nice, but I don't remember exactly who it was.
Yeah, I was
But it
too.
was a good
I had an
experience.
interview buddy. I was telling her, oh my god, I'm so nervous. What should I do?
Oh.
And just like, don't worry, you got this. And I'm like, oh, thank you.
Did you have other offers for second round?
No. Actually, the funny thing is that, you know how there's like the application process, first round interview and second round interview?
Yeah.
EY's the only one that came through in the application process. Only one of the big four. I got several material ones, so I still had to prepare for those, but yeah, within the big fours, because my aim was big four. So within the big fours, only EY came through the application process. So that was a lot of pressure.
My thinking is though that EY just like knows how to find the good people.
Ooh. Yeah. So for the second round interview, what kind of questions did they ask? Or was it just casual chatting?
I think it was a little bit more casual. I don't remember a single question that they asked. I remember who interviewed me and like where the setting was, but I don't remember the questions they asked. I remember I was kind of distracted because in one of them it was a partner. He was like a really friendly guy. I think it was just like a comfortable conversation for the most part, but he was in this like window office, and at the time, so EY building is like across the street from the
Construction?
Yeah, the giant
They had
skyscraper
construction
thing.
when I was there too.
And there were people working, and I'm like kind of like looking at them working and trying not to be distracted.
Yeah.
It was hard, but it went well.
Well, that's good. So did you already get a gut feeling after that interview that you're probably going to get this job, or?
Yeah, pretty much. And I think I don't think they told me that, but it was kind of like the understanding, where like the tone of their voice and everything like that, they seem like already looking for you to work there.
Yeah.
That sort of thing.
So let's talk about what are your thoughts after you got the job offer?
Before I started working,
Yeah.
I think I was really happy that I got the job offer. Like that was a load off my shoulders. Like recruiting process completed, and now I can like begin. I think they were like continual.
Or how did you decide EY?
Because they offered me a job.
Were you considering other companies at that time?
During the recruiting process, yeah. Mostly wanted to do mid-tier accounting firm, just because it's smaller, more like intimate work environment, and probably fewer work hours. But once I got EY, I realized like that's where I wanted to be. That would be like the ideal place for me to start my career. So then I focused on that.
So you didn't struggle accepting that offer?
No, not at all.
And after you accepted the offer, did you like reconsider your decision, or was it just like all very smooth?
Very smooth.
Very smooth.
Yeah. It's kind of just my personality. Like once I decide on something, like I just like lock onto that. I don't have to think twice.
So you finished your, I guess, semester in May. When did you start?
Like start the graduate program?
Yeah.
Oh, August 3rd.
Whoa, that's very accurate. The transition, like from being a grad student to being like a staff one at EY.
At first, it was super nice because the first.
I heard.
Yeah.
I'm jealous.
Oh my. Wait, what? Did you have the same?
No.
Oh no, I mean like the training part. Like the first 2 weeks was training, and it was like the welcome to EY. Oh, yours was in LA, but ours was in San Diego. So you have to go to their office, gotta like stay in a hotel, and they're like we have like a starting class. So basically, it's everyone else who starts at the same time, and I think there were 20 people in my starting class, and so we just all became friends, and we like all went to San Diego together. Like we go training, and then evening we go hang out. Then we came back to LA and went through like 2 more weeks of training, and it was a little bit like grueling training because it's just like a lot to take in, but at the same time it was kind of like school, and we were like all one class, and so it was a similar experience almost to like when I was first at USC in the summer. So that part I really enjoyed. Then the actual work started, and at first it was fine. Like I think I was unassigned a lot. So when
It
I guess
doesn't
for
happen
those
that much.
yeah, well for some people. So for those who don't know about like public accounting or public auditing in like Big Four, you get assigned to like different clients for like a few weeks or a few months at a time, and like in between you may or may not be like assigned to different clients. So sometimes your schedule is just open and there's nowhere to go. So that was me for like a good amount of time, like in the fall, like the first few months where I was
Living the life.
Yeah. So I just got to come into the office and just study for my CPAs. Really enjoyed that. And then the work itself wasn't too bad because it wasn't busy season yet. I was a new staff. There wasn't that much expected of me. But then it like progressively actually became more difficult because then there was like more that was expected of me. I learned more about my expectations and responsibilities. And then busy season hit in January, and that was stressful.
How long did it last?
I think until May.
And how many hours were you working per week?
So in terms of hours, I think mine wasn't as bad as like a lot of other people's. Mine probably average was in a 50 something hours a week. But it ranged from like 40 something to like 80, I think.
Woo, 80 hours? So is that also well, it's about you today.
Yeah.
So did you also work weekends on 80 hours? Most likely.
There was like quite a few Saturdays, and I think I only had to work like 1 or 2 Sundays.
Oh.
So as far as hours, I actually got pretty lucky. But I was stressed out more in terms of like expectations, and there were just...
Were there a lot as a staff one?
Yeah, and I put a lot of expectations on myself more than like my seniors and everything like that. Just because in public accounting there are so many rules to follow, and I try to like follow all of them as much as I can, and it's just a little bit overwhelming.
Yeah.
At times, yeah, and so I did feel overwhelmed at times.
How did you feel throughout your first year at EY?
Up and down.
Up and down.
Yeah. Definitely there were times where I was super stressed out. Not so much because of the hours again, but yeah, because... And then also because like you take your work home with you sometimes, where like even if you get out of the office, like you might still have to do something over the weekend at home. And I'm just not good at doing that. Like I'm terrible at home. And so I did not enjoy that. And so like my computer bag became like a burden for me. Like wherever I had to carry it, like I just knew that was work. I was like always thinking about work. And it wasn't so much about the work or EY itself as more about like the way I handled it. I just didn't have the right, I guess, means by which to handle my stress. And that turned into a bad experience for the most part.
Were you burnt out throughout the process?
During busy season, yes. But once busy season ended, around like May or so, like it got better again to where like during that time I was like ready to quit as soon as I got a chance. Not like during busy season, but like okay, like after this busy season, like I'm gonna find another job.
Story of many people's lives.
Definitely. A lot of people do quit like within that first year, but most people stick around I think until at least second year. I started feeling better once the summer rolled around. Like work became more manageable. The stress became more manageable too. I started like learning how to deal with things better. And then there was a lot of travel involved, and that I really enjoyed, and I wish I could do that again because there wasn't too much for me to do like in the Los Angeles area. I got sent to the Bay Area a couple times, like including San Francisco itself. I got sent to Salt Lake City. And oh my goodness, like I love like traveling and being able to fly and not paying for anything really, because the flight, the hotel, dinner is all like expense, or you can expense. That part like is really enjoyable, and you get to like explore a new city while like also working and getting to know new people. So that was good. I'm like, okay, like maybe I could do this.